Welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Riesa Pascal. This week is National Infertility Awareness Week. The goal is to reduce the stigma and educate the public about reproductive health and issues that make building a family difficult for so many. With us today is Dr. Barry WITT, a medical doctor with WITT Fertility, to talk about how common infertility is. Hi, Dr. WITT. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Riesa. Thanks so much for having me
Of course.
join you to discuss such an important topic.
A very important topic. As we mentioned, there are so many families that struggle with this issue. And I know a lot of them just, hold out and just hope maybe one day it will all work out. How long should a couple wait before they seek out a fertility specialist?
Well, in general, people recommend waiting a year, but that's very dependent on other factors. So if somebody has been trying to get pregnant for more than a year and they're under 35, then that's infertility. But if they're over 35, we recommend only waiting 6 months because age is such an important factor. Also, if there's other factors that they know about, previous issues like endometriosis or previous surgery, or they have very irregular periods, those are all things that would lead people to seek help sooner.
Right. So these are some issues that can lead to infertility. But what are some of the most common causes that you see? Would you say it's those that you just listed? Are there very specific cases that you come across?
Well, I think in general, it's thought that probably 50% of infertility comes from the male, 50% from the female, and there's some overlap where both are involved. So obviously, male factor infertility is usually associated with like low sperm counts. On the female side, things like ovulation defects, so women with very irregular periods oftentimes don't ovulate. So if they're not releasing an egg, they don't get pregnant, or if they have a problem with the fallopian tubes being blocked, or endometriosis. But I think in my practice at Greenwich Fertility, we have more and more issues related to age-related fertility decline, because a lot of couples are waiting, especially women waiting till they're older in order to conceive. And that presents problems because the number and quality of eggs declines with age.
That's right. And it's unfortunate that those couples do experience those issues. But the good thing is we do have treatment options. What are some of the most common fertility treatment options that you offer, that the industry offers?
Yeah, well, I think everybody thinks the treatment for fertility is IVF, in vitro fertilization. I mean, that is a very common treatment, but it's not always necessary. So depending on what the underlying issues are, for some women, it's actually a simple solution. So somebody who doesn't ovulate can take ovulation induction medications orally, and that can result in their ovulation, or simple things like just managing thyroid disease or other hormonal problems. But once you make a diagnosis, if it's something that requires IVF, like blocked tubes or very low sperm counts, then IVF is done. But sometimes you can get by without doing IVF, doing a very common procedure. It's called IUI, or intrauterine insemination, where you wash sperm and put it into the uterus at the time of ovulation, or in combination with some fertility medications. So there's a number of different treatments that are available depending on what the underlying issue is. But realize that probably about 30% of the time we do an infertility investigation and don't find a specific cause. And in those cases, although it's not satisfying to the patient to hear a diagnosis of no diagnosis, it's still treatable. So things like inseminations or even IVF will still work pretty well in those cases.
Right. And then I know there are some other family planning options. Can you share about those?
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of things that are available for, like, what we actually call it family building. So, everybody who wants to be a parent in this day and age can be a parent. So whether it's a single male or a same-sex male couple or same-sex female couple, or anybody through different arenas. So, for instance, using a gestational surrogate to carry a pregnancy for a single-sex male couple is useful, with egg donation, or egg freezing is actually a very common procedure now that's done for both medical reasons, for like women with cancer who are going to be undergoing chemotherapy to preserve their fertility for the future. But many women, because of what I alluded to before about aging being so important, are choosing to freeze their eggs when they're younger to serve as their own egg donor in the future when they're older. So that would potentially alleviate problems in the future of having age-related decline, because if you have eggs in storage, you at 40 can then say, okay, now I can get pregnant with my own eggs, as opposed to not being able to get pregnant, having to use an egg donor at that point.
Wow, great information to know. Where can we go to learn more about this?
Well, you could come to my office, but I think that might be a little bit too much. So I think, obviously the internet, it can be good or bad. I think reputable places to look would be the American Society for Reproductive Medicine, or ASRM.org, has a website for patients, reproductivefacts.org. There's
Fantastic.
also SART.org, Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology, SART.org, which provides a lot of information about in vitro fertilization.
Thank you, Dr. Witt, for your time. This has been a very important interview and very helpful as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Riesa. It was wonderful to be with you today.